Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Gilded Tarot. It's Georgie. And on the table today, I have the Gilded Tarot, a beautiful sort of Renaissance type pictures, beautiful nights, lovely, lovely images, and all mixed up. I'm going to do a reading on the executions of Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, how they varied. The energy behind them, what was going on, and we'll see what the Gilded Tarot have to tell me about these two very, very different executions. So I'm going to place Anne Boleyn on one side and Catherine Howard on the other, and we'll just compare and contrast the two. So Henry VIII ordered his second wife, Anne Boleyn, and his fifth wife, Catherine Howard, to die by execution. But how they actually died was very different, and the time leading up to their deaths were very, very different. So let's start off with Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn was taken to the Tower of London. I believe it would have been by barge, and then she got off at the Tower of London and she walked in the main entrance up the steps into the main entrance. Okay. And then with Catherine Howard, she was taken to the Tower of London by barge, but instead of being able to walk up the main steps, she went through Traitor's Gates and entered that way via the waterway. The gates opened and she went through Traitor's Gates. Okay. So already there's a massive difference in the approaches of these two. Six of Pentacles, that's your give and take card. Now, whether you liked Anne Boleyn or not, whatever the feelings were towards Anne Boleyn, which I'm sure they were extremely mixed, she was a queen. And, you know, you have this give and take attitude here, which is usually just, you know, you treat someone the way that you feel they deserve to be treated. You want to be treated with the same respect. Now, obviously, she's going to be killed. Her husband's decided that this is going to be an execution and this is what's going to happen. But she was given the respect that she deserved. So that give and take, whatever anybody's feelings were, she went in the front door, she went to apartments, and she was looked after. With Catherine Howard, she's gone into the Tower of London through Traitor's Gates. These are gates with the waterway. And as she's gone in them, in the Nine of Swords, what a sleepless night, what an absolute heartbreak, what a terrifying situation, nightmare. She's seen, I would imagine, the heads on spikes, her boyfriend, her lover, would have had his head on a spike as she went under this waterway. She would have seen that. What a terrifying situation. Nightmares before, nightmares after. Just the most awful approach. Totally different. And this is also a queen, you know, mustn't forget that. She was a young girl who'd, you know, had a terrible life, really. She'd been abused, and she didn't deserve this. She was a queen. Anne Boleyn got queenly treatment, if you like. First queen ever to be executed, Anne Boleyn, but at least there was some dignity there, whereas there wasn't on this side. So they go into the Tower of London. This one here, Anne Boleyn, has her apartments. She does not. Catherine Howard does not have the luxury of really nice apartments. So when they are led out to the gallows, or not gallows, but I don't know quite what you would call it, but out to that area where they're going to be executed, Anne Boleyn's area is all covered in black satin. It's all draped in black satin. And Catherine Howard, the area that she walks to when it comes to her turn, is just basically covered in straw. Covered in straw. Okay. So again, you know, we're not going to get happy jolly cards. Of course we're not. This is the most dreadful time of both of these women's lives. So with the Ten of Wands, the burden here, I think we're not talking about Anne's burden. We're talking about probably the burden of Henry VIII. Yes, he ordered it, but I think once it had been ordered, he didn't want this burden anymore. She was something that he carried on his back. This awful situation, this crime that she was charged with. So he didn't want to carry it anymore. He just let it go, and I think that he just ordered it to be as respectful as possible. It's going to be done. So I don't want the burden of this. You deal with it, but make it respectful. Make it, you know, fit for a queen, although it's an execution, because I don't want this burden on my back. You know, she's done what she's done. She's going to die, but I don't want the burden of this. You make it as respectful as you can. Then I can drop this burden and move on with my life and go and marry Jane Seymour. So, you know, that's that sort of burden feeling. On this side, we've got the Seven of Swords. This is your card of it's sort of sneaky behavior. It's getting away with something. It's and they got away with this because she shouldn't have been treated like this. This is really bad behavior. Getting away with something, and yeah, look, they did get away with it. If it was that way up, you know, you'd think, well, you know, this is a real bad deed. It's sneaky and it shouldn't be being done. It was this way up, and everybody knew that this was wrong, and they saw through it. They saw through it. It wasn't like a hidden, it wasn't sneaky. It was done, and everybody thought this is totally unfair. Rightly or wrongly, for whatever she's done, she's being treated like a commoner. She is a queen, you know, and it was very, very bad, a very bad approach to it, and people saw that it was bad. So for the actual execution itself, Anne Boleyn had a French swordsman who came all the way over from France, the best person possible to do this execution, very accurate, the sharpest sword, to do this as cleanly and quickly as possible. And a lot of money was spent on this executioner. And with Catherine Howard, it was a local axeman, the man who just would have done any execution, the local man with his axe. He came along and he did it. Devil, there we go. Yeah, I mean, the Five of Pentacles, this is your person that doesn't fit in, and of course she doesn't by then. Everybody is, you know, I don't think her ladies in waiting have turned their back on her. I think they're there as her comfort. But, you know, the nation's turned against her. The king's turned against her. This is the person out in the cold. Of course she is. You know, she's standing there. She's on her own, very much the isolated person. We've got it in reverse here. And I just think this is like the public spectacle, the people seeing, you know, how ostracized this woman was, that, you know, this was once the Queen of England, and people see now how totally alone she is. You know, there may have been people around, but how alone can you be up there waiting for this to happen, and totally isolated? That's your isolation card. And then on this side, well, you know, we have this axeman coming along, the devil. The devil. What an awful sight, seeing this man you know, in just like his normal working clothes. He wasn't all dressed up as a swordsman. He's just there with his axe and probably his apron, and you know, he's just like the working class man. And this is to do this for a queen. Absolute devil energy. Who ordered that? I would imagine Henry VIII ordered that. You know, and the Five of Pentacles with this one, people see as well that although she's on her own, it's like a kind of acceptance card. You know, she is being given the privilege of this death, you know, this way of death, you know, so it's not like you're thinking, oh, this is the worst person in the world, she's just going to have her head cut off by a normal axeman. People look at it and they see again that she's been given some dignity in this, and the swordsman would have had on his finery and you know, would have looked the part, acted the part. And talking about acting the part, he actually, both of these women were blindfolded. He takes off his shoes as he approaches her. Anne Boleyn's executioner, he takes off his shoes, so he's in his stocking feet. So she's not alarmed by the sound of his footsteps coming across the planks to her. So he takes off his shoes and there's silence. Eight of Cups. And with Catherine Howard, what was the approach with Catherine Howard? What was the approach with her? I think with Anne Boleyn, the Eight of Cups in reverse, you know, he can't walk away from this, no matter what his feelings were. I'm sure he committed many, many executions, but he's there. He has to do it. You know, in the Eight of Cups, it's a walking away card. It's a, you know, move on, go somewhere else. Of course, he can't. He's stuck there. He has to perform this, and he wants to do it as well as he can. He can't go anywhere, so the shoes come off and he stays where he is. He makes a few steps forwards in the quietness and performs what he has to perform. On this side, we've got the Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles is slow moving energy, and I just see this as, you know, quite a lumbering man who he would not have taken off his shoes. He would have taken his time over this. She's a young girl, she's blindfolded, and he would have just done it in the way that he would do any other execution. I'm sure that he just walked over, raised his axe, and that was it. But there was no speed to it. It was just another job. So let's see what else we've got. When the execution happened with Anne Boleyn, her ladies in waiting covered her head in some of that black silk or satin, and they immediately covered her head in black silk or satin. Yeah, and that was the right thing to do. And with Catherine Howard, this slow moving, I can picture him as a big man, slow moving with, you know, his axe. He held her head up for people to see, so she actually got the treatment that a common or garden criminal would get. He held her head up for the public to see. Yeah. So on this side, again, treated queenly, with respect. The Hierophant, you do the right thing. There are laws, there are codes of conduct. This executioner here, he had a conduct, a way of conducting himself by taking his shoes off. The ladies in waiting had their role of conduct. They knew that, you know, this is respectful. Just put a cover over this head. That's it. And that is what they did. On this side, Two of Pentacles. This is like your juggling act, not sure what to do, you know, not sure how to react. She didn't get that. They knew how to react. This man knew exactly what to do. It wasn't like, oh, you know, I've executed a queen, what do I do? It was a quick action. He went in slowly, lifted his axe slowly. He did what he had to do. And there was no sort of, oh, what do I do now? He knew, or he'd been ordered to do what he did. In a normal situation, he just picked up her head and displayed it as a trophy, really. How very different these energies. So just finally, Anne Boleyn was given a decent burial. She had an oak coffin. And it was a respectable burial in an oak coffin, and she was properly buried. The lovers. Yeah, and I don't mean her and Henry, and I don't mean lovers in that respect, but it's, it's a choice, and it's the right choice in this case, because regardless of whatever happened, he had loved her once. And I think that was on his mind. She was the woman that he divorced Catherine of Aragon for, or he annulled his marriage with Catherine of Aragon for. So there was that love there at one stage, and she did get the respect. This union, he chose to have that union with her, and although he had no love for her then, and he was a very very narcissistic man, and very, very unpleasant. I think that he remembered that he had once loved her, and that she had a decent burial. On this side, Catherine Howard, well, her body was basically she didn't have a proper burial. There was nothing really left of the body, because I believe that something was poured over it. It wasn't acid, but it was like some kind of lime or something. It was some kind of thing that rotted her body down. So basically, she was just dissolved. I think there were tiny fragments of her left, but to all intents and purposes, she was dealt with like rubbish. There you are. The sun. And I just think, although we've got a sun, and that could be a very positive card, I just think now, the spotlight's on that. People look back now and they say, this poor girl, she'd been abused as a child. She was really quite a feral child, and she did what she did, and it was wrong. Of course it was wrong, but now the light's on it. It's being shone on. This is what happened. She was a queen, and she was never given that respect. And again, the sun, I think of the heat that's generated by these corrosive substances, the heat to destroy a body, and just get rid of her. Just evaporate this body. So I'm going to go right to the center and see if I can get one overall energy for Anne and one overall energy for Catherine. So let's go right to the center. Let's see what we've got. 9 of Cups in reverse. And another in reverse. 4 of Pentacles in reverse. Yeah, I think 9 of Cups. 9 of Cups in reverse. But the 9 of Cups upright, I think this woman, up until she really peed Henry off and got this sentence that she was going to be executed, she'd always had this very good life, so whatever she'd wanted, she'd got. Whatever she wanted, she'd got. She had, jewels and all kinds of things spent on her. And this is very much an indulgence card. Have whatever you want. Well, that followed her through life until this moment. And then everything gone. All the indulgence, all the jewels, everything that she'd ever been given, it means nothing now. It means absolutely nothing. And all the emotions spilling out of it. But in the past, she'd had a life of a lot of excess. No longer. And then we have with Catherine Howard, the Four of Pentacles. This is the card of want, of need. Now, I think that this is going back to, you know, before she married Henry. This is like her life before. Now, I'm not saying that she was poor in any means. Of course, she wasn't. She was of nobility. She had enough money. She had plenty of money. So I'm not looking at Four of Pentacles as a monetary thing. I'm looking at this as emotions, very sort of needing love, and the person that needs love sort of holds it to them, and I think she'd never really been shown love, and it blocked her heart. Look how these pentacles block this person's heart, because he's holding on so tightly. You can't give love if you've never had love, and I think this was the thing that that led to her demise. She couldn't show love well, and so she gave her love away. She gave it away free. It didn't mean anything to her. And I think this is what got her into this situation, being too free with her love, letting it, you know, go to unsuitable people. You know, a very sort of used card, this one, holding on to your feelings, but not really appreciating your body, you know, and not knowing the correct way to show love because you've never had love, which makes this sort of blocked heart feeling. And somebody with that kind of emotion just gives it away. There's a saying, if you've never had love from a spoon, if you've never supped love from a spoon, you will lick it from a knife. And I think that sums up Catherine Howard, you know, and this is the, you know, letting her love go to the wrong people. So that's my interpretation of the cards, the very, very different energy, how these two women were treated in their final hours, basically. Let me know what you think. If you've got anything to add, you're also wise and you know more about this, or you know little snippets that I don't know, and that would be fascinating to hear. Have a good day, and you take care of each other. Thank you. Bye-bye.